Hey guys, welcome to Bdaman Games, and today I will be doing a deck profile for probably one of the nastier rogue decks I've been building around, and that is Umbreon GX Vileplume. I love this deck. I've been going 3-0 in my locals every Tuesday for about the past 3 weeks, so, going 3-0 for 3 weeks straight is pretty damn good. This deck is spectacular. I absolutely love it. It hits a lot of meta weaknesses. That's mostly due to the ability of a Jolteon from Ancient Origins that basically turns all my Umbreons into electric dark types, and it just hits all the weaknesses for pretty much everything. I absolutely love it. I really wish they would do a Leafeon that had that same ability so I can just decimate local meta, but we can only be so fortunate, right? So for energies, we have a pretty standard playset of double colorless energies and 6 copies of darkness energies, and that's pretty much it. There's a lot of consistency in this deck. To some people, that's not a lot, but trust me when I say this is consistent enough to have no problems whatsoever. For our supporters, we have 3 copies of N, 3 copies of Lysandre, 3 copies of Professor Sycamore, 2 copies of Lily, and 1 copy of Professor Kukui. I'm actually pretty tempted to cut either 1 or 2 of my Sycamores for extra copies of Kukui. More often than not, I'm seeing myself using my Sycamores to use Ultra Balls as opposed to actually discarding my hand and fixing, a dead hand. There is some kind of think about with that. I don't really care for Professor Sycamore to begin with. I know it's not fodder for Ultra Ball. It's something just to keep in your hand for last minute. You need it to dredge out freaking energy, which does happen on the occasion. Sycamore is a good outing for that. As far as items go, we have a pretty standard 4 Trainer's Mails, 4 Ultra Balls, 2 Level Balls, 3 Float Stones, and a single Revitalizer. And then for the stadiums and the last of our trainers, we just have 4 Forests of Giant Plants. For our Pokemon, we have our 4 Eevees. These are the Sun and Moon one. If you are going to be building an Eeveelution deck at any form of Pokemon right now, Sun and Moon Eevee is the best one to go after because Energy Evolution allows you to evolve turn 1, which is a huge deal. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, of course, wouldn't be an Umbreon deck without the 3 copies of Umbreon GX, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to be using Shadow Bullet. It's basically the Darkrai EX's attack. I love Shadow Bullet. I think it's probably the most used attack in the deck, although there are a few times where if I can get a Float Stone on a certain Pokemon, if I only have 1 double colorless in my hand, I usually like to Strife out Umbreon, switch it with a Tauros, so Tauros takes a damage, gets bigger, Float Stone it back, bring back Umbreon, Shadow Bullet, and just kind of build up a Tauros. It's 50-50. It's mostly up to preference. Next up, we have 2 Shaman EX. I was running a full playset of Shaman at first, and after a while, I just cut it down to 2. Shaman's a great card, don't get me wrong, but it's meh. I'm not a big fan of, constantly having to rely on Shaman, and so far, it's been perfect at 2. 2 copies of Jolteon from Ancient Origins. This is how the deck just gets really nasty really fast. Excuse me. So, essentially, it has Electric Effect, which reads, each of your Stage 1 Pokemon in play is now an Electric type in addition to its existing types. So, essentially, your ideal field would be having a Jolteon on the bench and your Umbreon as the active. So Umbreon Shadow Bullet is usually going to be doing 180, and it's beautiful, okay? It's a beautiful thing. I absolutely love it. I was running originally 2 Jolteon, a Flareon, and a Vaporeon, and I just cut them down because more often than not, you want Jolteon. If there's really nothing that's seriously weak to water or fire right now, aside from the Decidueye, but the Decidueye is kind of dying off, so I'm not too worried about that. And finally, we're having the full-on Vileplume set. We are just running 2 copies of each Pokemon. 1 Tauros GX for the late game. 1 Jirachi, that's the XY promo number 67. That is probably one of the better Jirachi out there. And finally, my tech card that I splash into every single deck I build. I have an Umbreon EX. This card has won me so many games because people do not expect Umbreon EX. So even in a non-dark type deck, the Veil of Darkness for 1 dead energy is floating in your hand. You can basically kind of self-mill or discard cards and then draw that many cards. So it fixes your hand really well. And then the end game, of course, if you knock out a Mega Pokemon, you get 4 prize cards instead of 2 from that knockout. So my meta currently is nothing but Mega Rayquazas, Mega Mewtwo's, and there's a 1 Mega Gardevoir deck, I think, floating around. It's odd. It's Mega Houndoom, that's it. It's a Mega Houndoom deck, and that end game, it's so good. I absolutely love it. So that pretty much covers the entire deck. I absolutely love it. I think it's a blast. It's really consistent. Like I said, the only cuts I would really recommend making would be dropping a Sycamore for a second copy of Kukui. I might just take out all 3 Sycamores in the future, or when Guardians Rising comes out, so I can get a foil full art How for the 3 replacements for Sycamore, because How was a damn good card, but I don't like the reverse holo. The full art looks a lot better. So that pretty much sums this up. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next review.